Hey everybody, and welcome to the Discovery Street Online Worship Experience. So glad you could join us today. I missed you guys so much. I missed you guys sitting with you and worshiping with you on Discovery Street. But I'm so glad you're here today. I'm glad we get to do this. It's so cool that we get to use technology to meet together like this. So just as a thing today, I want you to raise your hand to see who's been following along on the journey, the Bible readings that we've been doing as a church together. Wow, look at all those hands. I am totally blown away. That is so awesome. So my family and I have been reading every night. Hopefully you guys have too, and great job for the ones that have. If you guys haven't, it's not a problem at all. Just pick up. You don't have to reread all that stuff you've missed. Just pick up from where we are today. So you can either do it by yourselves, if you're not doing it as a family, or encourage your parents to read it with you. So if they're not doing it, say, hey mom, hey dad, would you mind if we read along together just through the Bible tonight? So don't worry. And parents, this goes for you too. If you guys haven't started this plan, just pick up where we're at and go ahead with it. So let's kick things off and go over our theme for this month. So can you guys say this with me? God uses imperfect people to fulfill his perfect plan. This is so true. This is a recurrent theme throughout everything you're going to read on this journey that we're going through as a church. So can you guys think of anybody that God has used in spite of bad things they've done? So imperfect people, despite the sins. Oh, I just thought of somebody. Okay, here's what I want you to do. On the count of 3, I want you to yell out the names of someone in the Bible you've either read about on the journey or you can think of off the top of your head that is imperfect, just like you and me, but God still used them in mighty ways. Okay, you ready? Ready, set, go. Whoa, that's awesome. So you guys, that's really, really good. So the first person that we've been reading about that comes to my mind right now is King David. So you guys have probably been reading about that for the last couple weeks. And God used David. You know, he had some big mess ups and some things that looked really, really bad. But God still used him. He even called David a man after his own heart, which just means that if we, like David, just desire God, want to worship him, and also just repent when we do the bad things, because that's very important. David, when he did something bad, it was brought to his attention, or he thought about that he did something bad and the Holy Spirit put it on his heart, he immediately repented to God. He offered sacrifices and did some things that he needed to do. All right, guys. All right, so now we get to review our memory verse for this month. Okay, so May's memory verse is 2 Corinthians 12:9. Okay, so we're going to go over that, and I'm going to try to do my best cowboy accent for y'all. All right, are youngs ready? Okay, here we go. My grace is sufficient for you. Okay, and my power is made perfect in weakness. Can you guys repeat that after me? Give me your best cowboy accent, okay? So my grace is sufficient for you, and my power is made perfect in your weakness. So I don't have a very good cowboy accent, but I'm sure yours was better than mine. So all right, fellas, sit on down now, because it is time to worship.
Well, I've been moving in a new direction. Don't you know that something's gonna change? I've been affected by God's injection. Now I don't say the things I used to say, 'cause now I'm changed. I'm not
going on? Is this thing on? All right, I think I got it going, guys. How's it going, Discovery Street? So happy to see you. This is Mr. Chris. It has been a weird few months, and I can tell you guys, I just miss seeing people. I miss seeing you guys, and I just cannot wait till we can worship together again, and we can get back to church and do all the fun things that we get to do. So, since we can't go to church, we're doing stuff virtually. So Miss Sherry asked me to make this video, and we're going to play a game. And I know how much you guys love games, and we're going to play a classic. It's just called Rock, Paper, Scissors. Okay? So if you've never played this before, here's how it works. Okay? You start. There's three things you can use here. Okay? So you can either throw a rock, which looks like a rock, like you would give someone a fist bump. A rock. Paper is just going to be flat. Okay? Paper or scissors. Okay? So when I say rock, paper, scissors, shoot, that's where you're going to put down one of those three things. Okay? So those are the three choices you have. Okay? Now, here's the way the game works. It's brilliant. Okay? Each thing you throw has power over the other one. Okay? So, for example, if I throw a rock, okay, that beats the scissors because a rock can crush the scissors. Okay? But if I throw scissors, that can cut the paper. Okay? And then, because you guys have all cut paper before, and then if I throw paper, that can crumble up the rock. Okay? Now I know that one doesn't really make sense if you're a science person, but for the game, that's how it works. Okay? So, rock beats scissors, scissors beat paper, paper beats rock. Okay? So we're going to play, not 10, we're going to play 5 rounds. Okay? So the way this is going to work is I'm going to go rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay? And if I put down scissors and you put down scissors, you're still in the game. If I put down scissors and you put down rock, you beat me. You're still in the game. Okay? But if you threw down paper, I beat you and you're out. Okay? So let's see if you can last all 5 rounds. All right, here we go. Round 1. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, so I threw paper. So if you threw paper or if you threw scissors, you are still in the game. If you threw rock, you're out. All right, so if you're still with us, here's round 2. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Scissors this time. So if you threw scissors or if you threw rock, you're still in. Okay? Paper this time is out. All right. Hopefully we still have some of you with me. All right. Round 3. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Scissors again. Okay? So, if you threw rock or if you threw scissors, you're still in. Who's out? Paper. All right. Round 4. Round 4. All right, here we go. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Paper. Okay, so that means that if you threw rock, you're out because we crushed you. Okay, but scissors, paper, you're still in. All right, last round. Round 5, last round. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Last one's rock. Okay, so if you threw scissors, you're out. But if you threw paper or rock, you're still in, and you won rock, paper, scissors against Mr. Chris. Okay? So, I loved seeing you guys at the drive-thru party, those of you that came through. Great seeing your smiling faces and your very nice cars. Okay? So, hopefully, you guys are enjoying your early summer break. But if you're like me, you just can't wait to be around people again. So, stay safe. have fun this summer, and hopefully sometime during the summer we'll get to meet back again and get back to church and get back to doing fun things. And congratulations to all of those that are moving on to FX, and we're gonna miss you, but we love you guys. We're proud of you. And then of course, congratulations to all of you guys that are moving. Some of you are moving up to different grades and all that other stuff. It's just an exciting thing, and we cannot wait to see you guys again. We love you. God bless. Take care, everyone. Good talking to you virtually.
Today, I'm going to be helping you with your chant. So if you're not already standing, stand up and let's do the chant. Ready? Creation, fall, flood, nation, 4,000 years. Saul, Sarah, Abraham, Lot, Terah, Israel, promised land. Isaac, Ishmael, Jacob, Esau, Joseph, Egypt, Jews, Egypt, 400 years. Bondage, Moses, let my people go. No way, Jose, 10 plagues, Passover, Red Sea, Mount Sinai, law, tabernacle, Levites and priests, offerings and feasts. 12 spies, wanders, 40 years, dies. Joshua, back to the promised land, divide, conquer, divide, settle, 12 tribes. Judges, 400 years. Deborah, you go girl. Gideon, Samson. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes except for Ruth and Samuel. United Kingdom, 120 years. King Saul, no heart. King David, whole heart. King Solomon, divided heart.
What is your greatest desire? What do you want more than anything in the world? If you could summon a genie from a magic lamp and he granted you 3 wishes, what would you wish for? You know, we all aspire to be great. We strive to do something great or have something great. Having big dreams and goals and desires, that's not a bad thing. But as we're going to learn today, those desires can reveal our true heart and our true values, and sometimes that's not too pretty. We've been studying the life of King David. We first met David when he was just a boy protecting his father's sheep. The prophet Samuel came to David's home. Now remember, a prophet is a messenger from God who could predict the future. So the prophet Samuel came to David's home and he secretly announced that David would be the next king over all of Israel after King Saul. Now King Saul knew that it was only a matter of time before he would lose his kingdom to someone else, but he didn't know who. And this troubled him so much that he couldn't even sleep. One of King Saul's servants knew David and knew that David played the harp and suggested that King Saul hire him to come and play his harp so that Saul could relax and maybe get some rest. Well, that's what happened. David started working at the palace, and David became a regular face around the palace. He became the best friend of King Saul's son Jonathan, and King Saul even offered to lend David his royal armor when David volunteered to fight Goliath. But we know David refused to wear the king's armor, declaring that God alone would protect him. And we know David went on to kill the giant Goliath. The victory was so grand that the people of Israel couldn't stop talking about it and how great David was. This made King Saul jealous. And as time went on, Saul grew to hate David and actually tried to kill him. David ran for his life, and there was kind of this cat and mouse chase for a little while until Saul finally died in battle and David became king. God chose David to be king because he delighted in the Lord. It's written of David that he was a man after God's own heart. That doesn't mean that David was perfect by any means. Do you remember Bathsheba? Bathsheba was the wife that David stole from another man. He not only stole her, he had the other man killed so that he wouldn't get in the way of them being together. No, David wasn't a perfect man by any means, but he did pursue a relationship with the Lord. David loved the things that God loved and continued to chase after God, even though he made mistakes. A perfect example of David's love for God is how he wanted to build God a temple. David had this huge palace of his own to live in, but God's people still had to go to a tent to worship God. David wanted to build God a permanent temple, but this wasn't part of God's plan because David had been in too many wars and had too much bloodshed on his hands. God sent another messenger, the prophet Nathan, to tell David that, David, I'm going to have someone else build my temple. But the good news is he loved David very much. So God made a promise or a covenant with David. He told David, your offspring is going to be the one to build my temple. And he also promised David that your family will sit on the throne for all of eternity. That's pretty cool. Well, we continue the story of David, and today we see that he is 70 years old. He's getting really old, and matter of fact, he's near death. And he's a little worried because, there's a lot of people trying to take his throne, and David knew that the people of Israel had fickle faith. They cared more about comparing King David to the other kings in surrounding nations than they really cared about their devotion to God. Even though David was getting older, his mind remained sharp and focused on God. He committed himself to writing more and more and more, and that's how we got a lot of our Psalms. It was David writing. In Psalm 37 we read where David said, trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Today, people read this psalm and they automatically latch on to that last phrase that God promises the desires of our heart, as if God were a magical genie or something, ready to grant our wishes. But that misses the entire meaning of what David was saying. That thought process is really sinful and selfish. It's greedy. God isn't in the business of just giving us everything we want. David said, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. When you understand the first part of that verse, it changes the meaning of the second part. When it says delight yourself in the Lord, it means having an extreme satisfaction or strong pleasure in your relationship with the Lord. The more time you spend with your friends and family, the more you get to know them. What they like and what they dislike. You form inside jokes. You begin to think like each other, and after some time you can even finish each other's sentences. You see, spending time with God works a lot like that. When we take time to read our Bible and talk with God, he will transform our minds and our thoughts so that our hearts look a lot like God's heart, and his desires become our desires. We will care more about what brings God pleasure, honor, and glory than what our own selfish desires are. David knew that, but he had some sons that didn't quite understand that truth. They were all about getting what they wanted. They wanted to be in control. Last week we actually heard about one of David's sons, Absalom, who wanted to be king so bad he didn't care if he hurt his dad to take his throne. Unfortunately, this got Absalom killed and completely devastated King David. And you would think that David's other sons would learn from Absalom's mistake, but we actually see David's fourth son, Adonijah, make the same mistake. He saw his dad in his frail old age and thought to himself, I will be king. He secretly enlisted a team to help him take the crown from his elderly father. He organized bodyguards, enlisted the help from Abiathar, the priest, and Adonijah planned this huge celebration to have himself crowned king. But the prophet Nathan found out what was going on and set out to stop him. Nathan knew David would be hurt by this information. He knew that in his frail state that he couldn't take this stress. So the kind-hearted prophet Nathan decided to break the news to David as easily as possible. Nathan went to Queen Bathsheba, and he had a two-part plan. He said to Bathsheba, "Come, please, let me give you some advice, that you may save your life and the life of your son Solomon. Go immediately to King David and say to him, 'My lord, O king, did you not promise that my son Solomon shall reign after you and sit on your throne? Why then is Adonijah, your son from another marriage, becoming king?' Then Nathan said, 'After you do that, I will come in and I will confirm everything that you say.'" Essentially, Nathan's plan, his two-part plan, would disclose the bad news in two parts. First, Bathsheba's part would present a wife and mother's view, and we know David loved Bathsheba. Her words would open up David's mind. Then Nathan's part two, Nathan's visit, would reveal Adonijah's evil plot. Nathan's news would confirm Bathsheba's concern and unveil the seriousness of the plot against the throne. So we know that Nathan's plan worked. David was so upset by this news. He assured Nathan that it was never his plan to make Adonijah king. And he became almost sick when he realized that another son was so vain that he tried to take the throne. This had to end. David's mind worked quickly. There was only one clear decision to be made. Bathsheba's son, Solomon, must be made king immediately. David called for his loyal servants, those that hadn't defected with his son Adonijah. He found the loyal ones, Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah, captain of his bodyguard. He got them together and he instructed them to put Solomon on his mule, take him down to a place called Gihon, and Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophets were to anoint Solomon king over Israel. Once it was done, they were to blow trumpets and say, "God save King Solomon." Then they should return Solomon to the palace and he will sit on the throne. Well, these guys, they did exactly as David instructed, and the news spread quickly that there was a new king in Israel, King Solomon. Adonijah, when he heard, he quickly backed down, realizing that he was in trouble. He went to his brother Solomon and he asked for forgiveness, and he received it. But those loyal to David, they came to the palace to congratulate David and Solomon. By this time, we know David was getting really weak. He was on his bed and couldn't get out, but he was beaming with joy and gladness. His lineage would continue forever. So what? What does this all mean for you and me? Well, it means we can trust God. No matter what, we can trust Him because He always keeps His promises. Remember His promise to David? He promised David that his heirs would build a permanent temple for God. And He also promised that his lineage, his heirs, would rule forever. Well, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but in the coming weeks we're going to be talking about Solomon and his story. And spoiler alert, Solomon builds a temple for God. And we know from reading the first chapter of Matthew that Jesus is a direct descendant of King David, which fulfills God's promise for David's family to rule for all eternity. Jesus is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords who will rule forever. Well, I want to challenge us to trust God more. I want us all to be the kind of people that chase after God's heart. Even though David didn't always make the right choices, he was a man after God's own heart. When he sinned and disobeyed God, he repented and he sought forgiveness. His love and compassion for others came from his relationship with God in seeing people the way that God saw them. Don't be like his sons Absalom or Adonijah, seeking only personal gain and selfish desires. Be like David, who put his own desires of building a temple aside in order to fulfill God's will and God's plan. God's plan for us is 100 times better than we could ever imagine for ourselves. So, trust God. Surrender to Him.
Hey you, listen up. I got something inside, can't get enough. It's true, I'm telling you. What you see in me is Jesus. I'm gonna show my friends and family this light glowing inside of me. I'm gonna shine for all the world to see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, oh, oh. I'm gonna shine a light. Oh, oh, oh. I'm gonna shine a light. Oh, oh, oh. For all the world to see. Come on, let me hear it. I got the fruit of the Spirit. Come on, let me hear it. I got the fruit of the Spirit. My spirit is gonna win. 'Cause every day I'm gonna follow Him. I'm gonna shine for all the world to see. Oh, oh, oh. I'm gonna shine a light. Oh, oh, oh. I'm gonna shine a light. Oh, oh, oh. For all the world to see. I'll show 'em love, joy, peace and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Come on! Love, I put others first. Joy, I believe God's promises. Peace, I know I'm God's child. Patience, I can wait. Kindness and goodness, I care about others. Faithfulness, you can count on me. Gentleness, I am ready to listen. And self-control, I won't let sin win. I'm gonna shine a light. Oh, oh, oh. I'm gonna shine a light. Oh, oh, oh. For all the world to see. I'll show 'em love, joy, peace and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I'll show 'em love, joy, peace and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Living like a bandit, he's run the planet. Now the fuzzy man left you empty-handed. A battle rages up in these pages, tearing up the story that you heard through the ages. No bars or cages, he rearranges every little cookie that you left home on the ranges. The little book you read and that was getting changed.